Okay, the Switch 2 event just ended, and there was a lot of stuff there packed into the 60 minutes. And there's some interesting reveals, I will say that. Certainly some unexpected stuff, but also some things that I thought were really good, especially on the hardware side. And I'm going to just go over some of my initial reactions here because news is still breaking, specifically around pricing. So you want to hear about how that's going, stay tuned until the end here. But just wanted to go over some of the high-level thoughts, the bullet points that I have down, because as I was going, I realized it was getting kind of out of control with the amount of information I'd be trying to go over. So let's just go over some of my initial thoughts. So if you guys enjoy the video, hit that like button, subscribe if you're new. June is coming, and so is the Switch 2, but are you ready for it? I mean, you want to make sure your shiny new system is covered, right? Well, in that case, meet the Kill Switch. It's a name referencing the Switch Killer that is the Steam Deck, just the other way around this time. It's the ultimate upgrade for your new console, launching day one alongside the Switch 2. With detachable ergonomic grips, your hands, oh thank you. Say goodbye to the cramped feel of the Joy-Cons and hello to long, comfortable gaming sessions. The custom dock adapter, it's got USB 4 support. It works seamlessly with Nintendo's official dock, even doubles as a sleek display stand. And when you're on the go, the crush-proof travel cover has you covered. Now with an integrated game holder for up to 10 games, a frosted transparent finish means you can grab your next game at a glance. Guys, the Switch 2 is right around the corner, so make sure you're ready and reserve your Kill Switch now for just $3 and secure priority access using the link in the description below. Thanks to Dbrand for sponsoring today's video. I also want to give a big shout out to the people who came out to the live stream. There are a ton of people there. I think we capped out at almost 15,000 concurrent viewers, and it was a lot of fun to be there for a new generation with a full live stream going, even though Nintendo's own live stream during this, by the way, struggled. It crashed. It had a lot of problems. But I also looked, and it was like 1.5 million people were watching Nintendo's live stream for this event just on their like Nintendo of America or Nintendo America normal account there on YouTube. There's also all their other regions streaming, so it was mayhem. A lot of people interested, clearly, in this reveal. And they started off pretty strong, I think, because it was Mario Kart World, which, you know, their first showing, and I'm like, okay, there are more racers here, clearly. There's like 24 people. They showed a lot. But then all of a sudden, they just kind of go off the track, and it appears that you don't go to a menu when a race ends. It then just goes to the next, you just drive to the next location, and then they go a little further and say there's full free roam where you just drive around in like this open world area with your friends. And it seems to me like then you'd have almost an adventure setup, kind of like Diddy Kong Racing, and maybe they'll have a full single player for it. There's still a direct they're going to do for this specifically here in a couple of weeks on April 17th, and maybe they'll dive more into that. And if that is the case, like standard Mario Kart with a big adventure mode, I mean, this could be literally next generation Mario Kart then. So I was very excited. And also, you're grinding around on rails. It is the launch title. In fact, we're going to get to that soon, but it's going to be bundled in with the system for at least one of their SKUs, what I would assume to be, obviously, their more expensive SKU. Now, they went from here into just a ton of hardware-related stuff. I was a little surprised as to how in-depth they went with this. But, I mean, they broke down the C button, which is kind of what we figured it would be, and it's sort of what I was alluding to before, where it's kind of like a menu of other options for communication, and when you press it, they have game chat was their big thing, where it's what it sounds like, you can chat to people during your games, but it kind of looked like Discord in the way it was presented with separate squares at the bottom, and you can also have video feeds. So you have like the microphone on the system, and it's kind of like We Speak, I guess, where even if it's away from you, it kind of records the room almost. And at that point, you can be playing a game and then have a bottom row of people, whether it has their video feed or not, I guess depends on if you have the camera. So, hey, the Kinect's kind of making a return, although it is more like, I guess, the PlayStation camera, technically, plugging into that top USB port on the Switch 2. And it can almost add like a green screen effect to you where it's just you and it'll remove your background. And it looks like it plays into a lot of the different games, and they're really leaning into the social aspect, which we were just asking for system level voice chat, appears to be there, but now they're going system level video chat, and it's like actually part of games. They showed it with Mario Party, to where you'll be next to your character while they're doing different things. So I think this is a great step for Nintendo to go in the direction of less mobile phone usage for talking to people, more just on the same system. Like, and they also went over the parental controls. That's all you really need, okay? You can go in depth with this, but then also offer the option to completely block it for kids. Great. It's up to the parents then, and all the tools are there for them to do that. Okay. Talked about game share, which reminds me of the DS situation back with Mario Kart, for example. There, you could have one cartridge and then allow other people to play with you, so you don't need multiple versions of that game, like download play. Seems like it's going to be certain titles that allow this, which really you only need it for multiplayer games then, right, is the idea. Clubhouse Games appears to be the first one, so I assume they'll have something on the back of the box or on the website when you're looking over the game, or on the eShop, and they'll kind of go over it there and have like something that tells you that that is an option. So just good all the way around there. I mean, we talked about the virtual game card only being good for consumers, and it's like, oh yeah, here's game share. So okay, Nintendo giving a little there to the consumer. I'll give them that. They didn't show the UI though, really. I noticed that one, like the main menu of the system, which, I mean, we're going to see it, I assume, at the Treehouse, although maybe they'll control it a bit and not showcase the UI right away. It's like you only capture the screen and show it on stream when you're in a game. So I was really curious about that, and they did not get into it at all. There's still time, because we know, of course, the release date for the system as well, and we have a few months, so they could maybe spend more time with that before then. Then they went into discussing the hardware. And this is the part that I was a little surprised about, because they really went in depth here. Hey, here's a 7.9-inch screen, 1080p display, 120 FPS, HDR support. Like, it was all there that we talked about before. HDR was the thing that I was a little unsure of. Figured it would have been on the TV, but it's actually on the display itself, the LCD. A little surprising there. Again, not expecting that one at all. They talked about the Joy-Con 2 with the magnetic connection, release button on the back, of course. SL and SR are bigger. They also talked about the larger control sticks, mouse controls, both left and right Joy-Cons, improved speakers, built-in microphone, noise-canceling technology, and 3D audio, which is really cool to see that be included here as well, since for me, that's made a big difference in some games on the PlayStation 5, so it's nice to see it here being offered by Nintendo as well. They showed off the new U kickstand, shaped in a U, and then they did talk about the storage. Okay, so I was wondering if they would kind of cheap out a bit on this one and be like, oh yeah, now we've doubled it to 128 gigabytes. No, they are at least going to 256 gigabytes on board, which is great. And then they're also supporting the Micro Express SD card. The current SD cards that we all have in our Switch are not going to work. So you're going to have to go out and get one of those. We still don't know details about file sizes and stuff, so that's a whole other thing there too. They even showed us the fan in the dock, which is, again, this seemed like a slightly different kind of Nintendo showing up to this presentation with how much they decided to show us here about the internals of the system. 4K support though through the dock, great. HDR support as well. And fan ventilation should help to cool the system down with what I assume to be a more powerful chip than obviously what we have in the Switch, but also one that's just going to generate more heat in general. And it will play Switch 1 games physically and digitally, which was a question. Don't have to worry about that. They had this Switch 2 Welcome Tour game. It's like an interactive instruction manual. And I thought that was the pack-in game. No, it's a paid digital game. I mean, it's cool because it shows off features of the Switch 2. It's also secrets you find in like the tech demos. I felt like this just would have been a good pack-in title, but it's Nintendo and they're gonna Nintendo, so gotta give them some money for it. They didn't show us the cases for the Switch 2 games, like the plastic cases. They showed us the cartridge, and it is indeed red. That's a cool idea. I like the red cartridge. Yes, it reminded me a bit of like Doom on the Super Nintendo, that nostalgia, but I don't know, it looks cool. It definitely differentiates it from the Switch 1 games. They showed the Pro Controller 2 or Switch 2 Pro Controller. C button, macro buttons on the back, headphone jack. Looked good. It didn't look like they tried to change the formula too much, which is great. They don't really need to. So it's looks pretty straightforward on that one. Launch date, June 5th. I was off by 1 day, and that's because they cheated and they're releasing it on a Thursday. They released it on a Friday like normal. I'd have been right there on June 6th. So, all right, Nintendo, they got one over on me there. Switch 2 games, Switch 2 enhanced games. The enhanced games are interesting, okay? And this is a whole topic on its own because they are indeed doing the pay to upgrade path, which Sony got beaten up pretty bad for this for a while, right? I think it's probably a $10 fee, I assume, or you can just buy the game all over again. It seems like they're going to have like physical releases, I guess, of these Switch 2 enhanced titles, which will work to bolster just the overall library of titles that they'll have available at retail stores with familiar faces and games. That's the idea, right? So like Kirby and the Forgotten Land, Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom, Mario Party Jamboree, those will all have enhanced editions and I guess just being repackaged and put on store shelves. Metroid Prime 4 Beyond, thank you for giving us the Switch 2 version. If they had tried to push this out as a Switch 1 game specifically, and they're like, oh, eventually get an update, I'd have been kind of annoyed because I'm going to play through this game day one either way. I'm absolutely getting the Switch 2 version, okay? Because mouse support, which is cool. I mean, I'll probably play around with that a bit, but most likely I'll be using the Pro controller for this. 4K 60, 120 FPS support, 1080p. So it has a performance mode. That is awesome. So if you have, of course, like a display that supports 120 FPS, I mean, you have some very smooth gameplay here at 1080p. 4K 60, though, for most people is more than enough. The game's going to look crazy on the Switch, too. All right, so I'm looking forward to that. That's going to be awesome. Pokemon Legends ZA, by the way, going for 30 FPS here with this. There's a Switch 2 edition. It did look smoother. It looked like it was going to be 60. So there you go. Even Game Freak, it's being solved by the Switch 2. I told you guys, the patch for Pokemon Scarlet and Violet is the Switch 2. Just wait for that enhanced patch. That enhanced patch shows up. It's $10 and it fixes the game. That would be crazy. But it is enhanced resolution and frame rate for the most part across the board. HDR support as well for something like Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom. I also assume they're going to cut down on any and all load times. So that'd be really cool too to see that, like when you fast travel in Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom, to be pretty much instant. So load times are a thing of the past just about across the board. We just need to get the June 5th for the Switch 2, and we'll finally be there. They showed off Drag X Drive, and it's a way to show off the Joy-Cons with the mouse support, clearly. But it's like a wheelchair basketball game, which is definitely a unique idea for them. But you use the Joy-Cons to move the wheels, and that way you can turn or spin or do full 360s, and then you actually shoot the ball with it. So it's kind of like their ARMS, where they showed off the Joy-Cons that way, or their 1-2 switch, sort of. This is going to play into that summer 2025, so this is going to be right around the launch of the system. They started showing off a bunch of third-party games: Elden Ring, Hades 2, Street Fighter 6, Daemon X Machina, the new one, Titanic Scion, Split Fiction, EA Sports will have FC and Madden finally making the jump over here. Hogwarts Legacy Switch 2 Enhanced Edition with mouse controls. That makes sense for the wand. Tony Pro Skater 3 and 4, Hitman World of Assassination. Then they talked about 007 for some reason, because, I mean, it's great they're bringing it to the Switch 2. Why not? But they didn't have any new information. I think they even just showed the same, like, animation they showed when they first announced. It's like 10 seconds long, something like that. Okay, that's fine. Then I think we started to get to a point where the stream hadn't crashed yet. Bravely Default, Flying Fairy, Yakuza 0, Director's Cut, Hyrule Warriors, Age of Imprisonment. So new Hyrule Warriors with Koei Tecmo, Age of Calamity. The issue I had with Age of Calamity was mostly the performance, and I'm hoping the Switch 2 cleans it up here with Age of Imprisonment. And if it does, great. I'm interested. I'm on board. I will check that out. Okay. We talked about the possibility of GameCube making an appearance. It is indeed happening. It's a Switch 2 specific feature, and it'll have 3 games, looks like, at launch: Wind Waker, Soul Calibur 2, F-Zero GX. Those are all great games. Little disappointing it's not more than 3 titles at launch, although this is a library I'm sure they're going to be spacing out quite a bit. It's not like the NES where they're like, oh, here's 20 games, and they're all less than 1 megabyte or a megabyte or something. I mean, these games aren't small. These are sizable games. It looks like they're going to have resolution upgrades and stuff for them, probably frame rate as well. So I'm looking at this as these are bigger games. Wind Waker is it's a full-fledged Zelda game. Great game. People have been calling for it for a while, so they decided to put it here with their service. No mention of price increase yet for NSO, but they also didn't tell us the price of the system right away. And I think it's pretty clear why, as we're getting more information right now. Same day as Switch 2 launch for GameCube, and we get our Wavebird controller. So great. All the way around. I'll be picking that up immediately to get the GameCube experience. Let's see. We had all kinds of stuff dropping. Deltarune, Borderlands 4, Civilization 7. WWE 2K is going to make another shot at this thing after 2K18 was a disaster. And then, of course, NBA. This is where the stream crashed. I have a blind spot here. Cyberpunk 2077 did get announced. That the stream crashed for Nintendo, and the chat was going crazy on Nintendo's stream. I heard the audio. Cyberpunk 2027 or something heading to Nintendo Switch 2. I'm like, great. This is the one I was joking about being there with like ray tracing and stuff. And it's just, I'm hearing about it. We're not seeing it. So I have to go back and look at that specifically. Final Fantasy 7 Integrate, though. Expected. Great. Kunitsugami. What is Hollow Knight Silksong doing? And why are they doing this to the Hollow Knight people out there? Like, you see the stuff get changed occasionally on the website and the metadata and stuff. And then they just drop it into it's a passing announcement. It's like, oh yeah, Hollow Knight Silksong, still 2025. That was it. So, I mean, I feel bad for the Hollow Knight people out there. 2 Point Museum. There's, for some reason, Wild Hearts S. They just had like kind of a quick sizzle reel of stuff. Star Wars Outlaws was even in there. So Ubisoft is doing whatever they can on that one. I can't believe I'm a little sad about this. Fast Fusion was in there. And Shin'en does some pretty impressive stuff when it comes to the file size and the resolution. And that looked really cool. And it was just like, oh yeah, Fast Fusion, Shin'en, keep going. It's like, all right. I would have liked to have seen or heard a bit more about that in the direct. But maybe that's just me. Fortnite, of course, is there. Anyway, FromSoft and Nintendo getting together for an exclusive game on the Switch 2. Exclusive. It's 2026. It's called The Duskbloods. And as they were showing it's apparently it's a new multiplayer game. I looked this up right away while we were even on stream, like watching this. Okay, what's going on here? Press release started going out. It's a new multiplayer game by From Software coming exclusively to Switch 2 in 2026. It, of course, has that Elden Ring aesthetic, a little bit of Bloodborne in there, and that's just kind of the way it is with FromSoft. You know, they have sort of a certain style and look to them. So when I'm seeing this, I'm like, okay, it's not Bloodborne 2. So is it some kind of Elden Ring expansion or something? No, it's just a brand new title. And the fact that you get FromSoft on board for something like that, exclusive to the system, that's a big move by Nintendo. Just outright for a publishing partner with FromSoft. So that'll be really cool to see that released on the system. And the thing is, they've shown all these trailers, right? And we still have at least 2 more here. The games themselves just look much cleaner and much sharper than the current Switch. I mean, again, I'm playing Xenoblade Chronicles X Definitive. That might be one of the sharper looking games on the Switch right now. And it was nowhere close to some of the stuff they were showing here. We were looking at it through stream. So when it's upscaled 4K on like a OLED display back here or just on the 1080p on the handheld, the game's just going to look a lot better, just in general. And I think this game specifically looked a lot better than anything on the current Switch. Kirby Air Riders. This is, it's fun to see Sakurai be able to do something like this. He told us he was putting up his YouTube stuff for years after he had already made it and moved on to developing something. And here it is. It's coming out this year. Masahiro Sakurai is leading the game, of course, development. And we haven't had a Kirby Air Ride since, the one on the GameCube 20 years ago. So really cool to see this happen for, I don't say dozens, but it happened 20 years ago when the game came out. It's not like a lot of the newer generation knows Kirby Air Ride like that. So it's really cool just to see this actually get a release. And I feel like some of that had to do with Sakurai being like, hey, let's do Kirby Air Ride. I've been doing Smash for a while. Let's do something new. So glad to see Nintendo pull the trigger on that one. I got to say, though, one of my favorite games of this show was the last one, Donkey Kong Bonanza. So it's really cool in the first place to have a new 3D Donkey Kong game. Follow up to Donkey Kong 64. We've been in 2D for this series for so long now. And when they showed it, I was like, okay, it's just going to be like a 3D play. And then he just starts destroying everything. Like the terrain is completely destructible, it looks like. And it's like to the point where he's burrowing down into the ground by punching it. and finding stuff. So I'm immediately thinking of puzzles, collectibles, things being hidden, and they showed a bunch of different worlds that looked pretty big. Like, these weren't like small areas. So it just seems like that, along with, I can imagine some really cool destructible boss battles. This looks awesome. And it's out in 3.5 months. So this is going to come out the month after launch. It's almost like when the Switch 1 came out, we got Breath of the Wild, and then the following month we got Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. This is the follow-up title, right? And that's kind of Nintendo's idea here, is to have a strong first year total, right? So June to June of releases. I think that's a fun way to follow it up in July. But I'm also trying to figure out where we place Metroid Prime 4 Beyond, because that's the game that I'm really looking forward to with the Switch 2 enhancements. And I'm kind of wondering now if that's like August or something. We could still be a little ways out for Metroid Prime 4. At the end, they showed us the Switch 2 console and Mario Kart Tour bundle. So there are 2 SKUs, and this had been rumored, but they didn't show us the price, which is a little alarming at first. I said, oh, hold on a minute. They're not showing us the price. Because the games in general, I already have an idea of like, okay, they're probably $70. Like Donkey Kong Bonanza, MSRP, I'm looking at it right now, $70. Okay, so that's about where I expected it with what we've seen, price jumps and inflation and stuff. But when they didn't talk about the price on the system, that makes me think that they're not excited to talk about the price on the system. And from what's going around right now, it looks like the launch price is $450, okay? And the pre-orders will start next week on April 9th. There's press releases going around right now. Publications are posting about it and everything. And now we have some breaking news around the pricing for games. So we had originally talked about titles maybe moving to $70. Donkey Kong Bonanza, by the way, has been priced now. It's listed at $70. But then look at this. Mario Kart World is listed at $80. This, by the way, these little asterisks here, I double-checked just now. It mentions that that's the suggested MSRP. Okay. Nintendo is really setting the price of this game at $80. Wow. That's not great. We're already moving up to $80 games. Oof. Wow. So, the system at $450. $500 with the... I mean... That's a big jump though, from $450 to $550. But like if you had bought this separately, that'd be $530. Wow. Okay, Nintendo's on one right now. I don't know what this pricing's about. We gotta see. I gotta see if this is a mistake. Again, stuff's breaking right now. But pricing aside, because it seems like we're just all over the place with that currently. Again, Nintendo should have, especially on stream, gone over some of this. Oh, the price is moving up for this. Look, you know what? It's the way it is, Nintendo. You got to be upfront about it. You told us about the refresh rate on the screen. You can't pause and tell us about pricing of the system. Anyway, all that aside, I think the biggest takeaway here is that the hardware looks on paper very good. I think better than people were even expecting when it comes to the screen. Even some of the visuals so far that we've seen through stream are good. And the idea of them going back and doing enhancements for older titles, also good. We just need to see more information around some of these different games that are being prepared for launch, which I assume we'll see about, of course, in the following couple of days at these tree houses, along with more information being shared on the system itself, like, for example, the UI or any other features there. That's still something that's kind of up in the air. So I think just for an introduction of the system, along with some of the games we can expect, and even seeing a revival of something like Kirby Air Ride, a new 3D Donkey Kong, and a big open Mario Kart, price withstanding, of course. I think there's a lot of really cool stuff happening here, but I guess we'll find out more at the Treehouse in the coming days. But let me know what you guys thought about this presentation from Nintendo, and what you're seeing so far with the Switch 2 system. Thanks, guys, for watching, and I'll see you next time.